Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Thursday as you are listening to the show today, and I am in such a habit of saying that when I am pre-recorded on Zoom, but not today, my friends.
Nope.
Today we are live in the studio for Traffic Safety Thursday, and I have an extra super special guest.
It's Trifecta Thursday.
Could you please stop talking? I'm trying to introduce my guest, my favorite sheriff. Could you just give me a second? Lenny Millholland is here, Frederick County Sheriff. Thank you, Lenny, for coming to spend time with me today.
Thank you, Janet, for asking me to come with Lieutenant Gosnell.
Oh, yeah, Goz is here.
I believe it was I who asked the sheriff.
I was very excited. He sent me a text last night and said, hey, we're not going to be able to do our usual shtick. And I'm like, what? And thankfully, we both have iPhones, so I could see that he's still typing. So I'm watching, and then he tells me that you're coming, and I'm like, yes! And the puppies look at me like, what's wrong with Mom? Why is Mom going crazy?
Why is she happy? So.
But I'm excited that you're both here.
I'm glad to be here, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some questions or give some tips or whatever.
Yeah, well, you already answered the questions that I'm not allowed to ask on the air before we came into the studio. And I warned Goz that I was going to do this. So you have taught me. You and Fear of the Crazies have taught me never to engage with people while I am driving and on the road. So to the woman who cut me off this morning at Starbucks and then pretended it was my fault, who then proceeded to almost sideswipe a UPS truck. I hope you spilled your coffee. I'm just saying. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but I hope she spilled her coffee.
Ladies and gentlemen, this Radio Rage moment brought to you by Starbucks.
But I didn't yell at her. I didn't scream at her.
You didn't point any fingers or gestures or anything?
I didn't yell at her. I didn't scream at her. So we got a ton of stuff we're going to talk about today. Sheriff, what has it been like? I mean, COVID is on the downside, hopefully. We're keeping our fingers crossed. You came in and had your smiling face mask on, which is adorable, by the way. How have you been holding up? How's it been?
Well, we've had probably 74, 75 of our employees at the sheriff's office who were either positive, asymptomatic, had to be quarantined, or, the 10 to 14 day. So it's been difficult because, if somebody's sick, we've got to backfill, which, causes issues for the other shifts, and we have to take people on their time off and, see if they want to make overtime and then move them in and put them in another position on another shift. But, hopefully we're on the downhill swing.
And it's also one of those jobs where it doesn't happen with just one person. You guys interact a lot with each other. So if you have somebody who ends up, exhibiting symptoms or is exposed to somebody else who was, that, widespread effect really can cripple you to a certain degree.
The first event that we had was a deputy who had a trainee. So the trainee was with him, and then he went home and for that weekend realized and got tested that he had COVID. So then the trainee that was with him, he had been put with another senior deputy. So then it just started a domino effect. And then, we had like 6 people at one time because they were in contact one way or another. And, so they were out.
Normally by the time we find out that one has it, we've now dominoed 3, 4, 5 others at a minimum with a quarantine situation, let alone if someone actually is positive and sick. So,
and yeah, it does.
I know that from experience.
I was going to say, we recorded a show from your man cave because you were at
Not
home.
we. I was in the man cave. I don't know where you were.
But we all, I mean, it's stressed, PPE, where, all whatever protective equipment that you have, and it doesn't matter whether or not we're on an overdose call, whether we're on domestic or whatever, we wear them just for the simple fact that people wonder whether or not we've got it, and we definitely have to worry whether or not they have it, because the last thing we want is to put our people in a position where if they don't have it on and then they go and respond to your house for something.
And I have it and didn't know it or do know it.
Exactly.
Yeah, now that's an even bigger problem.
It's just that way. Look across, the United States, how many people across the country that have it, and,
So we were talking before we started the show about how I'm changing things a little bit here with Valley Today. I mean, this is the only live show I've done since I was here with Gos last month. And a lot of my shows, even after we're on the other side of this pandemic, are still going to be probably pre-recorded on Zoom for convenience, for a lot of different reasons. Are there some things that you've put in place because of COVID that you will probably keep in place when they're not necessarily required anymore?
Probably not, because the bulk of our stuff, we deal with the public every day. Probably the biggest thing that would happen would be people would be allowed to come back in to the public safety building, because right now we have to take their temperature and everything else before they can do anything.
You got to imagine with a law enforcement situation, go outside the emergency situation. Someone needs medical attention, someone's been assaulted or such. Just go to your normal interaction with law enforcement. It almost needs to be face-to-face, other than maybe taking a report for mailbox vandalism or for a neighbor problem that isn't violent. Someone may be able to call in and do that over the phone or on a video-type conference. Otherwise, when we're talking to individuals, victims, and suspects, we need to be there. We need to be able to observe, do you have marks? If you're a suspect, we need to confirm identity and such. So I think we'll be one of the areas where Zoom really won't help us that much.
Now, PPE, you guys kept it in a lot. You had your kits that had gloves and had things like that in it anyway. Have you bumped up that stock, and will you keep more of it on hand? Yeah, do you think?
We have always kept it. We had our own little stash of rubber gloves and masks and everything else, because a lot of times that's what we do. I mean, if we're on a crime scene or we have a DOA or something like that, a lot of times we'll mask up. So we were a step ahead. Not that we wouldn't run out, but we at least had enough to keep us going for a little while until, everybody, gave us their N95s or whatever we were getting.
So now you should stockpile.
I'm a firm believer in stockpile.
I have more toilet paper in my house right now than I will ever need in a lifetime, and I didn't buy it all at once. I just picked up some every single time I went to the grocery store, and there are several things. Coffee, you don't even want to know how many cabinets full of coffee I have in my house now.
Yes, because you can't run out of coffee.
Could you imagine? That would be a call you would not want to come on. I will tell you that, guys.
Well, but I would be pleased to try to help.
Yeah, you would. He'd come rolling up with a cup from 7-Eleven or something.
There you go. It wouldn't be the first emergency caffeine run I've made in my career.
So when you're here normally, we're talking about traffic safety stuff. We're talking about any new laws that may or may not have passed. I know on the list of things you wanted to talk about today is there's some new laws involving heroin overdoses. Give me some background on that.
Well, it's overdoses in general, really.
The law now states if we have someone who is in the midst of an overdose situation, anyone who calls in to 911, whether they are involved with the overdose or not, is now protected. Immunity, so to say. The victim of the overdose is also now protected. I'm using that word, protected from any ramifications of criminal action being taken. The idea here, from what we understand, is the legislature didn't want to prevent people from trying to get the victim help because they were afraid they would get in trouble. So victim A overdoses. Friend B calls in, says, my buddy's overdosing, needs help. When we get there, we're going to administer Narcan if needed, whatever CPR. We've got medics on the way. They may be there first and doing it the same. And if there is evidence of illegal drug use, the victim, A, is immune from prosecution, and so is the person that called in. So basically, we're trying to get the person in crisis help. Number one, keep them alive, and then number two, try to get them help, not necessarily punish them with criminal action. That's the idea from the legislature.
Maybe I'm comparing apples and oranges here. And I'm okay with the person calling it in, because absolutely you don't want to prevent citizens from trying to save somebody's life. But if it's, a drunk driver, and you get on scene,
completely different.
Is it different? Because I'm thinking they should not to be immune from being prosecuted for a situation that you put yourself in, whether it was a drug overdose or drinking too much at a bar. To me, they seem the same.
Well, with a drunk driver, and I want to make sure this is made clear, we're concerned about their welfare as well, but we're more concerned with the innocent motorist that drunk driver is interacting with. The victim of an overdose is the only victim, unless they're behind the wheel of a moving vehicle at the time.
And then it's a whole different...
Yeah, and then we're still talking there's a DUI aspect to it. But in the sense of a person's in their home, apartment, motel room, whatever, and choose to take illegal narcotics and then suffer ill effects from it, they've only affected themselves. Where a person who is at the bar, downs a fifth of liquor, and now gets behind the wheel of the vehicle, not only are they, endangering themselves, but they're putting everybody else around them at risk. Yeah, it is apples to oranges. I think part of the frustrating part here is everyone wants to see the victim A get better.
Right.
Want to see them
and get help.
Get well and be able to function. But what is the motivating factor there? Because the way I understand addiction, and I grew up in a home with an alcoholic situation, so I know about it. And my father is now clean and sober, has been for
many years.
But at that point in time, he couldn't go a day without it. So I understand that part of it. But his motivating factor was, he didn't want to lose his family, but he also started having reoccurring trouble with the law.
Yeah.
So it was
consequences sometimes are that motivating factor, sure. And if you take that away, I wonder how effective your jobs are going to be, and how the long-term, sobriety of that person might be.
Number one thing, and I'm sure the sheriff is going to agree, whenever people say law enforcement has two purposes to society, what's the first one they say?
Protect and serve.
Protect.
Yeah.
And so you protect victim A from themselves. But now, how do we motivate victim A? And there will be people that will say, "Hey, punishment isn't the way. You don't beat." What's the old saying, Sheriff?
No.
Something you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink.
Right. Yeah.
That type of situation. So, what can we as law enforcement do? We keep responding, and we'll do what we can to help that person in crisis at the moment. And then it's going to be in the hands of other folks, their family, their friends, professionals in the medical field, and the rehabilitation and detoxing. Law enforcement's only going to be able to do so much.
The first year, I take it back to February of 2016, when we were starting to have our heroin overdoses. Mm-hmm. I took it upon myself to get a hold of somebody to come and teach my people about Narcan, naloxone. So I think within the first year that we had it, we had probably 52 or 53 people who, one way or another, were either unconscious or
nearly
not breathing, and we would Narcan them and bring them back. The first year that we did it, I'd like to say that my lieutenant responded to a call where there was a pregnant woman who was 6 months pregnant, and she was not breathing and not functioning. He Narcaned her, brought her back, and she successfully delivered a baby. So
did she name it Gauze?
That year we went ahead and, when we would say our totals, it was like 52 and a half.
Oh,
because it was that half that Lieutenant Gosnell
saved a life. Yeah.
saved.
Well, and we brought her back. Her family asked for her to be able to come in and view the body cam footage. Because remember, these victims, they're out, and then they're all of a sudden, once the Narcan and the naloxone works,
they're back.
It's like
it's flipping
nothing
a switch.
happened.
Yeah.
And so for her to see the video, see how blue she was turning, how she was basically gone, and how long it took us to get her back, she sat there and she cried. And from what I understand,
that
last
was
I heard,
the moment.
she has been clean. And so maybe that's part of it. Maybe these folks that we're involved with, maybe part of it could be, hey, we want you to see what it looks like.
We want you to see what happened when you were, unaware of what was going on around you.
And at the end of the day, they're addicts. They're addicted. So we as law enforcement try to do the best that we can. But the most frustrating part about that is, I know I can count on one hand at least 5 people who have had 3 or 4 bites at the apple for somebody to reach out and help them, and there was nothing available to help them, because once we Narcan them and bring them back, or fire and rescue comes and Narcans them and bring them back, it's like, see you, goodbye.
And
I'm out of here.
My job here is done, of sorts.
And they disappear. So for us to interact with them at that point, the legislature says, let them go. So we have to let them go. But we have had situations where after the second or the third time, they finally overdose to the point where we're not there. We don't bring them back, and they are deceased.
Yeah.
And that, out of everything, upsets me.
Is the worst of consequences.
Because there is nothing there that lets us, as law enforcement, do something that's going to hold them to seek treatment or give them something.
No one wants to see anybody incarcerated, but if a person in this type of situation is incarcerated, it might be the opportunity to keep them away from what they need. Yeah, it'll be a tough detox, from what I understand. But once past that, maybe that'll be the first step.
Yeah, sometimes that's the catalyst.
Yeah, so it's not always, we're just looking to put people in jail. But in a supervised environment where they don't have access to it might be one of the steps to help them get there. I don't know. I don't claim to know. But we continue to respond on a regular basis to overdoses. And in the past 2 weeks, I think, we've had at least 6, and 2 or 3 of those have resulted in death. And one of them had 2 people at once that we responded to.
And the count is up to 11 as of yesterday. And then there were 3 that are fatals in Frederick County and 1 in the city. And then there have been some, I think, in Shenandoah County that were fatals. So at the end of the day, the last thing we want is, for these people to die. And, we try to do what we can, but we can only do what you're
authorized from the legislature and what the law allows.
Exactly.
Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to come back on a lighter topic. Warmer weather is coming.
It's here today.
Well,
it's comfortable outside.
So we're going to talk.
I wondered why you had your swimsuit on.
Yeah, that's why. No, that's never going to happen. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. We are in the studio live today with Sheriff Lenny Millholland, Frederick County Sheriff Lenny Millholland, and Lieutenant Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. Hang in there. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a Quick Money Chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. This is what a live show will do for you when you only do one every 30 days.
Oh, you know.
God's broke everything.
I got to be that guy.
So it is Traffic Safety Thursday live here in the studio, and I am with my favorite sheriff, Frederick County Sheriff Lenny Millholland. And guys, I have to tell you, I was talking with my dear friend Nikki from the Front Royal Chamber this morning, you know, how she so much enjoys you being on this show every single month, and she felt bad for you because she knew how I was going to go crazy about having my favorite sheriff in the studio. So she wanted me to tell you that you are her favorite public information officer.
Well, thank you very much, Nikki. I appreciate that.
Yes.
And I appreciate that, Nikki, too.
And she doesn't even live in Frederick County. So what does that tell you?
I have a far-reaching grasp.
Yes, and you'll notice I had my feet way high up so that I don't get my orange Converse sneakers dirty.
You're going to hurt your friend's feelings.
You
That's
are
all I'm
color
saying.
coordinated.
I'm
You really
always
are.
color coordinated. See, you should come more often.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I washed my hair and everything for this.
That's awesome.
So in the first segment,
I'm not even. I'm not even.
We talked a little bit about COVID. We talked about the heroin overdoses and what your responses now are required to be based on recent legislation. Warmer weather is here. I'm sure that means you're going to get a lot busier, COVID or no COVID. People are
already
getting out and
have-
about.
Our
and
calls have gone up.
Yeah. We looked at last year's numbers, and you would think that with the pandemic and the shuttering of businesses and the readjustment of schools and such, that we would have seen drops in certain categories, and actually in some we saw increases, and everything else pretty much stayed the same. I can tell you this, our DUI arrests have almost doubled.
what?
Well, we're seeing a lot more daytime DUI crashes.
But you can get it delivered to your house now. You don't even have to leave to drink.
Well, a lot of it is the ones that can't get it delivered that they'll go pick it up themselves and drink it on the way.
Well,
Don't do that, people.
Well, think about this. You have folks now who, at one point in time, for their 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, whatever, a day, for 4, 5, 6 days a week, were going to their place of employment, which took up a chunk of their day. Now they're not. And so what is there for them to do? Not everyone, we're not saying that, but there are some that who fed that habit on the weekends and worked their normal job. Well, now I'm not able to work my normal job. I'm down to 2 days a week or maybe even less.
Or even full-time, but you're doing it from home, which is a much more relaxed atmosphere and less oversight.
Some people are drinking because of stress. You know, they're worried about things, you know, loss of income, insurance, the employment situation, having the kids home all day and having to homeschool. We've heard all kinds of different reasons on you know, it's
On
12, 1,
happened.
2 o'clock in the afternoon. What's going on today? You know, and some people will tell you, hey, here's what's happening, and I just felt like I needed to go out for a while. But we've seen an increase in DUI arrest, DUI crashes, serious injury crashes are on a rise. And there are other categories within the sheriff's office that have also seen that, but obviously my focus is here, so I know these numbers. And, you know, we've been fortunate so far this year, and I don't want to jinx us. We have had a couple of serious crashes, but we're almost at the end of March, and we're not where we have been in the past. So that's a good trend. But, yeah, COVID really hasn't affected our call volume.
Like most people probably would assume that it has.
Right. That first 2 weeks, and that's why we talked about COVID earlier. We're on the 1-year anniversary. But the first 2 weeks, we did see a drop in traffic-related issues. Now, is that because we had fewer people on the road, which we did, because there were a couple of weekdays I was driving around thinking, this is like it is on Christmas Day.
Well, we talked, I think, about that, and it would be the perfect time to shoot a zombie movie because streets were deserted everywhere.
All you have to do is look at New York City like a week after COVID hit.
That Times Square
and there
was eerie.
Nothing out there.
And then add into the fact of we were also informing our people, hey, if you see something, we want you to act on it. But we want you to make sure, okay, we're not talking about, a 5-day-old rejection sticker or a broken taillight or something. We're talking about if you see someone being dangerous or egregious, reckless, DUI, take the action you need to take. But, we also said, let's watch out for them and for us during this first 2 weeks. So, yeah, I think during that period, we saw a slight decline. But then when people started getting cabin fever and going stir crazy, they were out on the road more because they weren't at school. They weren't at their place of employment. So traffic actually picked up a bit and got a little more, I don't want to say dangerous, but people were driving a little more aggressively than normally because of the frustrations.
Some people forgot how to drive in that period.
Hey, I got to tell you, when I got in the car today to come over here, I'm thinking, holy crap, it was like coming in to sit in the studio. Which buttons do I push in which order?
Sure.
You kind of do fall out of the habit.
And, unfortunately, a lot of people fall into that category where it's not routine anymore. Every day you did the same thing. Every day you traveled the same direction. And now, for 2 weeks you didn't go in. In your case, one day a month. So, it's just different, and it's frustrating for me as a sheriff to see my personnel and the frustration that they have to go through every day, the people that we deal with and the frustration that they go through because of all this. And then you watch the news, and that just frustrates everybody.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, in the near future, things get back to some sort of
whatever the new normal is going to look like. Now, I spoke Monday. The show on Monday was with Dr. Chuck Bishop. He is the superintendent at Clark County Public Schools. They are going to start transitioning into, I think, 4 days a week of in-person. And I think Frederick County is looking
April 12th.
at the same thing. So school buses are going to start showing back up on the roads. And
well, now we've had school buses on the road. In Frederick County, we're Monday, Tuesday, A and B, Wednesdays off, and then Thursday, Friday. But the thing is, we've had fewer students per day. So now more parents will be going to the school on a regular basis if they don't want their child to ride the bus. And we'll have a couple of more buses thrown in, and it'll be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So it's still only going to be the 4 days. But the thing is, with this increase in traffic comes the fact of we've had people for a year now that aren't used to those school zones, being quite as busy as they are, or the school itself being busy and traffic waiting to get into those schools. So it's just a heads up to people that, when you start approaching those areas, be prepared because it might be congested. There might be lines trying to get in or get out. And so from a traffic safety standpoint, I'm going to keep preaching what we've been preaching, and it's safety over convenience. If you need a little more time to get to work, plan a little more time. Don't be passing the cars that are waiting in line. Don't pass on the double yellow. Don't think you've got that magical 9 to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, because in a school zone or anywhere else, you may not. It's just going to be if an officer, deputy, or trooper is in the right place at the right time, and you're doing one of these things because you're going to be late, you're going to be later. Yeah. And it's like,
well, and the warmer weather is also, and I've noticed this with the puppies. I mean, they've got a whole new lease on life that they can just go outside now and run around till later in the evening because it's not getting dark as much. A lot of these kids are home in the middle of the day, where regular people that are going to work on a regular basis, now suddenly they got kids running through their neighborhood they weren't used to either.
Well, speaking of runners, warmer weather, the dedicated joggers and distance runners have been out during the winter, but now all the other folks who want to work off a little bit of that holiday cheer and stuff.
What was it, the COVID-19 is what they're calling it?
Motorcycles
and
bicycles. We're going to start getting calls for people. Grass is going to start growing. People are going to start cutting their grass and blowing it out into the roadway.
Don't do that.
And we'll address that's a danger, whether you think it is or not. We've got motorcycles now who've been cooped up for the winter, and so on those nice weather days, they get into it a little harder than they should be, and so again, it's just a matter of you got to obey the laws out here. We're seeing too many people hurt. We're seeing too many people die that don't need to. And so the only thing I will say, anybody that feels the need for speed, there are places to take your motorcycle, your muscle car, your jacked up 4-wheel drive truck, monster truck, whatever. There are places you can go. But out on the main roadway isn't going to be the place, because it's going to get a lot more crowded now with these longer days, warmer weather, and everybody in their different forms of conveyance, whether it's foot, 2-wheel, or 4-wheel, trying to share that same space together.
On average, Lenny, how many patrols do you have out on the roads at any given time? Because Frederick County's huge. I mean, it covers a lot of area.
415 square miles, and on the norm, we have anywhere from 10 to 12 uniforms on the road for any given shift. We have an A shift, B shift, and C shift. So.
Then during the 2-hour overlap, because A shift overlaps 2 hours with B shift. So from 2 to 4, there are actually 2 shifts out.
Right.
So you can double that.
20 couple people.
Yeah. There 3 times a day that happens where shifts overlap with one another. And then during Monday through Friday during the week, you think about you have school resource officers out. You think about you have investigators who are in plain clothes and regular cars out. You have your civil deputies who work the courts and deliver civil papers out. So at any given time during the week, you can have quite a few out there. And that's one of the other things to remember, that Under Sheriff Millholland, any of his deputies, investigators, or anyone who's sworn in can pull you over for doing something that you shouldn't be doing. So, again, we don't want to cost anybody any. I mean, there are folks who have been out of work who are, they count on the stimulus checks, or they're counting on unemployment and all. We don't want to be dipping our hands into anybody's bank accounts. It's not a big brother issue. All right.
Yeah, because I would imagine a day where you didn't have to pull anybody over. If you had a day, where everybody was doing what they were supposed to do within the bounds of the law, would be happy. And I don't think people think that that's how you feel, but it is the truth.
Well, and we're not making money for the sheriff's office or for Frederick County government. I'm telling you that this is something that if you're stopped for doing 20 over the limit and you don't get a warning, it's not the deputy's fault.
Right.
All right. But we don't want to also, an hour later, be knocking on your family's door telling them you're not coming home. And we've been having to do it too much. So it's just a matter of, if you're going to be on the road, pay attention to the traffic laws. If you're not familiar with any of the new laws that have changed, hey, reach out. We can inform you about it if you need. There are websites that
we
can
did
do it
a
as
show
well.
not too long ago. So if you go to the station's website and type new traffic laws into the search bar, the show that we did going over a lot of those will probably pop up.
Remember, the one thing right now, you can't have a cell phone in your hand at all while you're operating a moving motor vehicle.
Yeah. And this
no
is
GPS loophole. No, I wasn't touching the screen or anything like that. You can't have it in your hands.
So both of your things that you said a minute ago, I knew that you guys were going to be here at about 11:45 today. So I left earlier than I normally would leave to come in to do a live show anyway, because I didn't want you coming up behind me on 522 while I was driving in the left lane and I wasn't supposed to be. And I made sure that everything that I wanted to listen to, all my podcasts, were all geared up and ready to go. So all I had to do was tell Siri to play the next one, and I didn't have to touch my cell phone.
There
so
you go.
I have converted and I am conforming.
Well, no, you're being law-abiding. Sheriff, she's a law-abiding citizen.
I know. Who would have ever thought that at all?
We like that.
So we got to wrap up in another minute and a half. One of the things we usually do at the top of every show that we didn't do is our reminder.
Time to check your inspections and your registrations. We all know that DMV is still limited in taking appointments, but I can tell you they've broadened what they allow you to do online now. So before you assume that you have to go to DMV, go to the website. See if you can renew your license or your registration online, not having to make an appointment to go wait in line. Inspections have not shut down at all during this past year. So there is no leeway on that. And as far as the new law that you can't be pulled over just for a dead inspection until the first day of the 4th month, remember, with warmer weather, safety checkpoints are going to be coming back up. If you're in line for one of those and you have any type of violation that you can't normally be stopped for, you're not being stopped for that. You're being stopped as part of the checkpoint. So everything that's wrong will be addressed. It's not worth the gamble.
No. My tags expire at the end of April. I ordered them online already, so I'm good to go because, again, watch out for the mail. The mail is longer getting here. Don't use that as, well, I ordered them. No.
And the other thing, without trying to be hard-nosed about it, if you have your Starbucks coffee, you have your Red Bull, you have the latest iPhone in your vehicle, and you say, well, I couldn't afford my $20 inspection, Sheriff's going to say no.
Yeah, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both, especially my favorite sheriff, Lenny Millholland, for coming and making the trip over to do a live show with me today. This has been lovely.
It has been my pleasure, for sure.
Yeah, see, Gos never says that to me.
He will in the future.
When she treats me the way she treats you.
Well, on that note, we are going to wrap up our conversation today. It has been live in the studio, Traffic Safety Thursday. We have been chatting with Frederick County Sheriff Lenny Millholland and Lieutenant Warren Gosnell, both from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office, of course. Tomorrow, I've already recorded tomorrow's show. I've already recorded tomorrow's show and Monday's show. I am out of here today, and I am not thinking about this radio station until Tuesday. But we're talking to United Way. It's United Way Day tomorrow, so we're going to be chatting with someone from Healthy Families of Northern Shenandoah Valley, and it's a fun conversation because it always is. Elisa's fantastic. Rubbermaid sales this weekend, so go ahead and mark your calendars for that. That's always a great deal. I'm going to go get me some trash cans this weekend, I think. I need some of them giant Rubbermaid trash cans for my spring clean out that I'm going to do. I will meet you back here tomorrow, a few minutes after noon. You can hear that whole conversation then, so give us a listen on air, online, or the TuneIn app on your phone.